All right, hi there. I'm back with another update video. This one is for January 3rd, 2022. And a lot of people are talking about the possibility of snow for the Ohio Valley later this week. So I want to talk about that and see what's happening. Before we get into that, though, I want to remind you, if you haven't yet joined my pro site, I would love for you to do that. You can join there at www.patreon.com/Ohio Valley Weather. And on that site, you're going to see a lot more details regarding the weather of the Ohio Valley, plus a whole lot more. So first of all, I want to talk about this. This is the current ENSO, or the measurement of El Nino or La Nina. And as you know, we are in a La Nina situation. La Nina has been going on now for the last few months. As the temperature of the Pacific Ocean waters drop below 0.5 degrees Celsius below normal. We've been holding pretty steady in there, but then you can see towards the end of November and into the beginning of December, we started to see this downward trend. And now for the past few days, the ocean water temperature has actually dropped below 1 degree below normal. In fact, right now, you could see the latest value up here is a negative 1.096 degrees, which would put the La Nina now into the moderate category. In other words, this means that La Nina is strengthening, and as La Nina strengthens, it typically means a wavier jet stream pattern over North America and over the northern hemisphere, which in the wintertime often results in more wintry conditions for the United States, which of course includes the Ohio Valley. And when we see that strong La Nina, we often see a strong high pressure over the Pacific Ocean, and that's definitely what we're seeing right now. This strong high pressure should cause the jet stream to form a nice ridge over here. And as we get a positive PNA, which we're expected to see this week, that's going to force the jet stream to dip over the eastern United States, which should be setting us up for an intrusion of Arctic air into the eastern United States and possibly snowstorms. Speaking of the PNA, here is what we're seeing currently for the PNA. Over here in red is what is being forecast. And you can see the PNA has been very negative now for actually several weeks, all the way back to the 1st of December, but we are expecting the PNA to turn positive over the next few days. And this is going to help force the colder air into the eastern United States, which is going to set us up for a possible snowstorm later this week. This is a temperature anomaly map, and this is actually for Friday of this week, the day that the snowstorm may be possible. And you can see the red over the western United States. This is that positive PNA. And typically what happens is when the western states warm up, that forces the cold air into the east. And you can see that's exactly what we're seeing. Right now, we're showing for Friday to expect about 10 degrees below normal for Columbus, Ohio. The normal temperature for this time of year would be in the mid-30s. So 10 degrees below that, we would be looking at highs in the mid-20s by this Friday. Certainly cold enough for a decent snowstorm. And speaking of the jet stream, this is showing the pattern of the polar jet stream. Again, this is for Friday, and we can see a nice ridge over the western United States here. That's due to that high pressure over the Pacific Ocean and also the positive PNA. And we could see the jet stream making this dip or a trough around the Ohio Valley, which is going to pull that Arctic air down into the Ohio Valley. And right in here where this dip comes together, this is where the snowstorm would likely be the strongest. And you can see that puts the Ohio Valley kind of right in the bullseye of that snowstorm if this forecast holds true. So what are the different forecast models showing? Well, this is the GFS model. It's one of the long-range American models, and this is for Friday morning. actually about 1 a.m. local time. And you can see that GFS really doesn't show a whole lot. With the GFS, this high pressure here over the Midwest really doesn't get that strong. And so this low, which is going to start out here over Colorado, almost comes straight across. And so it never really picks up much moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. And we just really don't get much out of it. We get a little bit of snow here in West Virginia and Virginia, maybe a little bit in North Carolina, but not that great of a snowstorm according to the GFS. But now let's look at what the other models are saying. This is the CFS. Now, this is another long-range American model. It's the climate forecast system. And you can see this one takes that low pressure much further south. Notice how strong this high is here. And so this would force the low to really drop way down, probably down into Texas, and go down here close to the Gulf of Mexico, which would allow it to bring up more moisture into the Ohio Valley. And this would give us a much bigger snowstorm for the Ohio Valley if the CFS is right. Now let's go to the next model. Now this is the ECMWF model, otherwise known as the European model. Now this one, notice we've still got that high pressure here, and notice how these isobars are running. This would mean that the low pressure would almost drop straight south from Colorado, and it would take a very southerly track down close to the Gulf of Mexico, and then almost come straight north again, which is going to pull a lot of moisture up into the Ohio Valley. So this would result in a much bigger snowstorm for the Ohio Valley than either of the first two models showed. And now let's look at the Canadian model, or the GDPS model. And notice this is really similar to the European model. Once again, the low would start out here over Colorado. It's going to go down into Texas, picking up moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, and come up back around this way and pull a lot of moisture in the form of snow into the Ohio Valley. So as you can see, we've got about 3 out of the 4 models showing the Ohio Valley getting snow. 2 of those 4 models would show that that snow could be significant. Now, speaking of that, so what are the models showing as far as accumulation? So this is the accumulation based on the GFS model. Remember, this is the first one that I showed. This one did not have the storm developing much and not really pulling much moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. And so if the GFS model is right, then most of the Ohio Valley really doesn't see much snow. We get a little bit, maybe a couple inches over the mountain ridges of West Virginia. We get a little bit of lake effect snow up here, but other than that, really not too much. So that's what the GFS is saying. Now, if we jump though to the Canadian model, this is the other extreme. The Canadian model right now is showing a much stronger storm and much higher snow totals for a big part of the Ohio Valley, pretty much everyone except northwestern Ohio, where they might only see a dusting to an inch of snow. But as you can see, if we draw a line, probably about where US 22 is, everyone from US 22 and southward would be looking at least 3 inches of snow. And when you get down here along the Ohio River, this is going to be 6 inches of snow or more. You can see down here into West Virginia, we're looking at 9-10 inches of snow. So which model is going to be right? I don't know at this point, but with 3 out of 4 models bringing snow into the Ohio Valley, I'd say there's a good chance that we're going to see some snow this Thursday night into Friday. I'd say at least a couple inches if you are south of US 22, and it could be pretty significant, especially if this model is the one that has it right. So over the next few days, I'm going to be posting more about this. And again, if you want more details, I would love for you to join my pro site at www.patreon.com/Ohio Valley Weather. And I hope you enjoyed the video. See you next week.